There is a fruit growing wild across 26 American states right now that tastes like mango custard blended with banana and pineapple. It contains more protein than any fruit native to this continent. Its compounds kill drug-resistant cancer cells in laboratory tests, and it has been cultivated on this land for over 10,000 years, yet you have never seen it in a grocery store. Most Americans have never heard its name. The largest edible fruit native to North America is invisible, not because it failed, not because people stopped wanting it, but because it commits the ultimate sin against industrial agriculture. It refuses to be shipped. It cannot survive the journey from farm to warehouse to supermarket shelf. And in a food system built for transportation, a fruit that must be eaten where it grows simply ceases to exist. This is the pawpaw, Asimina triloba. And the story of its erasure reveals exactly what happens when a food system designed for corporations eliminates foods designed for people. Welcome to Secrets Beneath Nature. If these forgotten foods matter to you, subscribe and leave a comment telling me which erased crop you want uncovered next. The pawpaw is a ghost fruit. It evolved to be eaten by animals that no longer exist. 13,000 years ago, mastodons and giant ground sloths wandered the forests of eastern North America. They ate the large green fruits that fell from pawpaw trees, swallowed the seeds whole, and deposited them miles away in their dung. This was the pawpaw's strategy. It was a fruit too large for small mammals and too soft to survive long on the ground, designed specifically for megafauna dispersal. Then the Ice Age ended, the mastodons vanished, the giant sloths disappeared, and the pawpaw was left waiting for dispersers that would never return. Scientists call this an evolutionary anachronism. The tree has not yet realized that its partners are gone. For a tree that lives 250 years, 13,000 years represents only 52 generations. In evolutionary terms, the pawpaw is still waiting at the door for guess who died before recorded history began. But the pawpaw did not die. It found new partners. Humans arrived on this continent and discovered the custard fruit growing in forest understories from Florida to Ontario, from Nebraska to the Atlantic coast. Indigenous peoples became what the mammoths had been. They carried the seeds, they spread the trees, they cultivated patches that fed their communities for millennia. Archaeological sites across the Ohio River Valley contain pawpaw seeds in concentrated amounts. These were not scattered remnants of occasional foraging. These were the remains of seasonal feasts. The Shawnee Nation organized their calendar around this fruit. They had a pawpaw month. The town of Natchitoches in Louisiana takes its name from the Caddo people who called themselves the Pawpaw Eaters. The Iroquois mashed the fruit into dried cakes that lasted through winter. The Cherokee stripped the fibrous bark to make rope and fishing line. Evidence suggests that indigenous communities in the Ohio Valley were selectively breeding pawpaw for thousands of years before European contact. They chose the sweetest fruits, the largest yields, the trees that ripened at useful times. This was not wild foraging. This was agriculture. The abundance of pawpaw across eastern North America today exists because indigenous hands planted it there. Then Europeans arrived. In 1541, the Spanish explorer Hernando de Soto led an expedition through what is now the southeastern United States. His chroniclers recorded finding Native Americans east of the Mississippi River, cultivating a strange fruit. This was the first written European mention of the pawpaw. 70 years later, in 1612, a Jamestown colonist transcribed the Powhatan word for the fruit, Asimina, and called it the wheat plum. The name stuck, and it became the scientific genus Asimina. The colonists learned what indigenous peoples already knew. This fruit was extraordinary. In 1793, Thomas Jefferson planted pawpaw trees at Monticello in Virginia. He sent seeds to contacts in France, attempting to introduce this American treasure to European cuisine. George Washington grew pawpaws at Mount Vernon. The fruit appeared on presidential tables. But the most famous pawpaw moment came in 1806. The Lewis and Clark expedition was returning from the Pacific coast, exhausted, low on supplies. In September, traveling through what is now Missouri, their provisions ran out. For days, the expedition survived almost entirely on pawpaws. William Clark wrote in his journal that the men were fattening on the fruit. Without the pawpaw, the most celebrated expedition in American history might have ended in starvation. For the next century, the pawpaw remained common knowledge across its native range. Children sang the folk song about going down yonder to the pawpaw patch. Every family knew where the local trees grew. The fruit appeared in regional recipes and local markets. It was simply part of American food culture. Then it vanished. Not suddenly, gradually. One generation forgot to teach the next where the patches were. The trees still grew, the fruit still ripened, but the knowledge of what to do with it faded like morning mist. Modern science has revealed exactly what we forgot. Researchers have analyzed pawpaw fruit and found it contains 19% carbohydrates, over 1% protein, significant fiber, and minerals including potassium, magnesium, iron, and calcium. This is not a simple fruit. This is a complete food source. It has more protein than almost any other fruit on the continent. Its flavor profile reads like a tropical fantasy. Ripe pawpaw tastes like a mixture of banana, mango, and pineapple, with a custardy texture that 19th century agronomist E. Louis Sturdivant described as a natural custard too luscious for the relish of most people. And remember, this grows wild in Michigan, in Ohio, in Indiana, a tropical experience in a temperate climate. The pawpaw is the only member of the Annonaceae family, the custard apple family, that survives outside the tropics. Every one of its relatives lives in the rainforest. The pawpaw alone crossed into cold country and thrived. But the most remarkable discoveries came from cancer laboratories. In 1997, Purdue University researcher Jerry McLaughlin published studies that changed how scientists view this forgotten fruit. His research group identified more than 40 compounds in pawpaw called annonaceous acetogenins. These molecules showed an extraordinary ability. They killed cancer cells that had developed resistance to conventional chemotherapy drugs. McLaughlin explained the mechanism. Drug-resistant cancer cells use molecular pumps to expel chemotherapy agents. These pumps require enormous amounts of cellular energy. The pawpaw compounds block energy production at the cellular level. They essentially pull the plug on the cancer cell's power source. The resistant cells die. What conventional medicine could not kill, the pawpaw's chemistry destroyed. Further studies confirm these findings. In 2010, researchers demonstrated that pawpaw extracts inhibited hypoxia, inducible factor 1, a pathway that tumors use to grow blood vessels and spread. The compounds worked at concentrations measured in nanomoles. Extraordinarily potent, extraordinarily effective, and extraordinarily ignored. Why ignored? Because you cannot patent a plant that grows wild in Ohio forests. You cannot charge $500 a treatment for something that falls from trees every September. The pawpaw's anti-cancer compounds remain in the realm of alternative medicine supplements and academic curiosity, not because they do not work, because they cannot generate pharmaceutical profits. So how did a fruit with this nutritional profile, this flavor, this medicinal potential simply disappear from American consciousness? The answer lies not in any single decision, but in the architecture of a food system built for distance. The pawpaw has one fatal characteristic. It is delicate. A fully ripe pawpaw is consumable for only 2 to 3 days at room temperature. Even under refrigeration, it lasts perhaps 1 week. The skin bruises at the slightest pressure. Within hours of harvesting, the fruit begins to show dark spots and discoloration. It does not look like supermarket fruit. It cannot be harvested unripe and gassed to artificial ripeness like bananas. It must ripen on the tree, be picked at peak softness, and eaten almost immediately. In the early 20th century, this was not a problem. People walked to their local pawpaw patch, picked fruit, and ate it that day. But then came motor travel, then came refrigeration, then came the national supply chain, and paradoxically, the technologies that were supposed to preserve food erased this one. With refrigerated trucks, produce could travel thousands of miles. Supermarkets could offer the same fruits in January in Minnesota that grew in October in California. But this convenience came with a requirement. Every fruit in the system had to survive harvesting, packing, shipping, warehousing, shelf display, and customer handling. It had to arrive looking perfect after a journey of days or weeks. The pawpaw could not comply. It spoils too fast. It bruises too easily. It looks imperfect when ripe. The blackened spots that indicate peak sweetness look like rot to consumers trained on unblemished produce. Industrial harvesters designed for apples or peaches destroy pawpaw tubers because the fruit is too soft, too irregular in shape. You cannot pick it with machines. You cannot ship it across the country. You cannot display it for days under fluorescent lights. The transition happened within a single generation. Families that once knew every pawpaw tree in walking distance started buying fruit from supermarkets instead. Their children never learned the patches. Their grandchildren never tasted the fruit. The knowledge broke like a chain, losing its links. By the late 20th century, most Americans had never heard of pawpaw. The folk song survived in some regions, but even singers did not know what fruit they were singing about. A generation that could identify mangoes and papayas imported from other continents could not name the largest fruit native to their own land. The pawpaw became invisible, not because it was rare. The trees still grow across 26 states, not because it was difficult. Pawpaw requires less care than almost any orchard tree. It needs no pesticides. Deer will not eat the leaves. Common fruit pests ignore it. The problem was simpler. What cannot be shipped cannot be sold at scale. What cannot be sold at scale becomes commercially irrelevant. What becomes commercially irrelevant disappears from public consciousness. But erasure is not extinction. The pawpaw waited. In Athens County, Ohio, something began stirring in the 1990s. Local enthusiasts organized an annual celebration of this forgotten fruit. The Ohio Pawpaw Festival has now run for nearly 3 decades, attracting thousands of visitors each September. People drive hours to taste what their great-grandparents ate for free. At Kentucky State University, the only pawpaw research program in the world continues developing new cultivars. Over 160 name varieties now exist, selected for flavor, size, and slightly improved shelf stability. Scientists are working to extend the fruit's viability. Though nature resists, the pawpaw was not designed for warehouses. It was designed for immediate consumption. Climate change has added new relevance. As weather patterns destabilize, crops bred for predictable conditions are failing. The pawpaw evolved in chaos. It tolerates heat, cold, drought, and flood. Its range is expanding northward as temperatures rise. A fruit that thrives in ecological uncertainty becomes valuable when uncertainty is all we have. Chefs have rediscovered it. High-end restaurants in pawpaw country now feature the fruit on seasonal menus. Pawpaw ice cream, pawpaw custard, pawpaw incorporated into sauces and baked goods. The New York Times published a piece that called it a panacea for climate-related agricultural woes. Food writers describe it as the next great American culinary treasure. But something deeper is happening. The pawpaw revival is not really about food trends. It is about food sovereignty. The recognition that a fruit which cannot be controlled, cannot be shipped, cannot be sold by distant corporations is a fruit that belongs to the people who live where it grows. You can plant a pawpaw tree. It requires minimal care. Within 5 to 7 years, it produces fruit. Once established, it propagates itself through root suckers, spreading slowly into a patch that can feed a family for generations. No annual seed purchases, no chemical inputs, no corporate supply chains. Just a tree that makes tropical custard in a temperate climate year after year, asking nothing but to be harvested. The pawpaw was not erased by conspiracy. It was erased by architecture. A system designed to move food across continents automatically eliminates food that refuses to travel. What remains in supermarkets is not the best food. It is the most durable food, the most uniform food, the most profitable food, and profitability requires control. A fruit that grows wild in forests, that spreads without permission, that cannot be patented or trademarked or monopolized, is a fruit that industrial agriculture has no incentive to promote. Indigenous communities never forgot the pawpaw. The forgetting was selective. It was our forgetting, the forgetting of a culture that stopped walking to the forest and started driving to the supermarket. But the patches remain. In forest understories across 26 states, pawpaw trees still drop their fruit every September. The soft green shapes fall to the ground, splitting open, filling the air with their tropical perfume. Most rot where they land, eaten only by raccoons and possums. The poor substitutes for mastodons that vanished 13,000 years ago. The trees are still waiting. For 10,000 years, human hands carried their seeds, spread their range, cultivated their abundance. Then we stopped. We chose convenience over nutrition, durability over flavor, corporate supply over community sovereignty. The pawpaw did not choose to be forgotten. We chose to forget it. And every September, in every patch from Michigan to Florida, the fruit falls again. An invitation repeated endlessly. The question is not whether the pawpaw will survive. It has survived ice ages and mass extinctions. The question is whether we will remember what our ancestors knew. That abundance does not require permission. That food sovereignty grows in the forest. That the largest fruit on this continent tastes like a tropical dream and asks only that you show up to harvest it. The mammoths are gone, but we are here. The pawpaw is waiting to see if we will become what they once were. If this video opened something for you, please subscribe to Secrets Beneath Nature and leave a comment. Every like and share preserves what the system tried to erase. The next video goes live soon.